Music, music, music. We've got Matt Hodge. He's here right now. Where did he go? Where are you at, Matt? Where? Oh, there he is, right there. We got Matt Hodge, and he's gonna do something incredible right now, right in front of you. He's just gonna do it. What is he gonna do? I'll let him explain. Have fun, Matt.
Thanks, Dan. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me for this amazing conference. I'm very excited. So today, I was asked to just sort of talk about music in a way that anyone can start, right? How do you start approaching media music for games, music for animation? What is sort of the philosophy of it? I love working with students. I love working with people who maybe don't have much music experience or have never tried music at all, but they really want to try it. So for the talk today, we're going to do it in 3 levels. The first one I'm just going to spend a minute on, and then we're going to go to 2 and 3, and on 2 and 3 is when we're going to get to some fun stuff, especially the third one. So we're going to do it sort of as 3 levels. So my friends that teach students, especially in game design or film animation people, they often will have students that express interest of, I want to figure out how can I also do my own sound or music, right? I don't know any composers. I don't have a lot of money to spend on music. I want to learn how to try it for myself. So that's sort of what we're going to go to. The first thing we're going to do that I just want to sort of get out of the way, because it is reality and I'm someone that lives in reality. So the notion of level 1 is going to be, Matt, real talk, I need music and I need it fast. I don't know any composers. I don't have any money for composers. I'm on a crazy fast deadline. I just need something. I don't want to have something with silence. Where can I get music online that is cheap, free, legal, creative, and fast? I've heard that question a lot. So this is reality. So I'm just going to go into that just for a second. Now I'm going to share a computer, a screen. Hold on one second. Okay, so if that is you, level 1 is that, right? Now, I say this, I don't show you this to put composers out of a job, right? I want us to have jobs. So this doesn't mean composers aren't important. However, this is reality number 1, and I do hear this question a lot. So if I had to point you to a program for that, there are tons of programs online. I'm not going to go into how many there are. My personal opinion is if you have to do something like that, this is a nice program to try. It's called Ecrut, E-C-R-E-T-T. I am not at all affiliated with them. I'm not getting paid to do any kind of promotion. It's just my own personal opinion. You need something, you need it fast. You don't know anyone that can do music. You can't do music. You need something by tomorrow. You just want to try something. The reason I like this program is at least you can see it is customizable. You still get to feel creative with it, right? You go and you pick, okay, what kind of scene or visuals are you looking at? What kind of mood do you want it to set? What kind of genre do you want it to be? And then down here, you can do a ton of different adjustments to it. And so you can decide how fast or slow, what's the melody like, how loud do you want the backing, the bass, the drums, what are the different sections? So I just randomly went on the website, I chose 3 random things, and this is what it sounds like. You can do lots of fun stuff. So this is a nice website if you just need something fast. I live in reality. I know that's a realistic question that I get asked, especially from people that are doing film or video games and they just need something, right? So they come to me as a music guy and say, where can I just find this online? You can find it here. Again, I'm not saying this as I want you to put composers out of a job. That is not at all what I want you to do. Okay, but now let's get to more fun stuff. Let's look at, I want to actually try this. I want to try this for myself. I want to get creative. So my career I have built of being a storyteller. I love storytelling and I love doing it through music. So my career, let's do like a really fast thing about me. I'm a professor. I teach music and theater courses. My degrees are all in music for the stage and screen, theater, film, TV, video games. I'm a media composer. I'm an author that writes about all these different things. And my perspective is always storytelling. And how can music serve a story? And video games are no different. And what makes video games fascinating to me is that it is a whole different league of music in terms of what the psychology of it is. Because you all know that music for video games are very interactive, and it's controlled by the audience in a way that film, TV isn't. I can't sit on my couch and watch a movie and make the music do things that it wasn't meant to do, right? I can't change and alter the music heavily, but I can play a video game and I can have a drastic effect on the music. I have a relationship with the music and I can help alter it and control it. And that's what makes video game music really interesting. So I'm going to now share my screen and I'm going to open a music program. Okay, so here's the deal. You want to try this and you're on a budget. First thing you need to look at is what we call a DAW. D-A-W. DAW is Digital Audio Workstation, and it basically just means it's a program. It's a software program that you're going to be able to get that's going to let you try writing music in it. There are tons out there. They range from cheap to super expensive, a bunch of different ones. Some of the popular ones, GarageBand that comes with Macs, Logic Pro, which is the one that I'm going to be showing today. There's one called Pro Tools, Cubase. There's a ton, but they're all DAWs, D-A-W. So you need a software program. I like Logic Pro a lot, and Logic Pro is pretty affordable compared to other ones. It's in the medium price range, in my opinion. So you're going to need a DAW. You're going to need a piano keyboard, because I'm a big believer of, if you want to try this, and I'm going to show you why here in a few minutes, why a piano keyboard helps you, even if you've never touched a piano before in your life. I'm going to show you why you can start to create music with it. Again, you can get fancy with it or you can get cheap with it. You can get smaller piano keyboards. The main thing is that they're what we call MIDI, M-I-D-I. And MIDI just means it can plug in to your computer and it becomes a digital instrument. So I have, you all can't see, but right below this camera, I have a piano keyboard set up, but it's also a MIDI keyboard that is plugged into my computer. So then when I play it, the music is going to come into the software. And so you can see I have this piano keyboard up on my screen that when I push a key, you can see what I'm playing. So you're going to want a keyboard and a DAW. From there, the world is endless. So level 2, when you get a DAW, a lot of times DAWs are going to come pre-packaged with lots of different sounds and instruments for you to try. And this is where you're going to get creative as storytellers. So what that means is, so for example, Logic Pro. Today, everything I'm going to show you is just instruments from Logic Pro. No other fancy programs that I've imported and put into the software. It's just the stuff out of the box that comes with it for free once you pay for the program. And so you can see over here all these different, there's just tons and tons of instruments to go through. And so the first thing to do as a storyteller is, even if you have no idea how to play piano, well, you know, I push a key, sound is going to come out. Yeah. So one thing to do is start to work at, when you look at video games, one thing that video games has that's also interesting, it's not just what we think of quote unquote traditional music, where there's melodies and there's harmonies and there's different things going on. Oftentimes music and sound are going to have a really interesting marriage together, and it's going to create what we call ambient sound, or pads, or atmospheric, or environmental, where as a player, my character that I'm in the game, the music is setting a mood, but it's not meant to heavily emotionally dictate exactly what you're supposed to feel. So one way that a lot of times this happens is with synthesizers. A lot of programs are going to come with synthesizers that are great for you to start to practice this sort of notion. Because also these synthesizers that come with these programs are often going to have movement within it, right? You don't want just an instrument playing a note and it's just going da. right? That's boring. If I am a character and I'm still sort of looking around and, I'm in a cave, I'm in a forest, I'm in a valley, whatever I'm in, and I need sound, even if I don't want music to emotionally tell me what I'm supposed to feel too much, it still needs to set a mood, but you still need movement in it. So these first couple of things up here, I just randomly clicked on random synth sounds that they have to see what it sounds like. And what I encourage students to do is just play it, hit a note anywhere on the keyboard. All right, and go, okay, that's an interesting sound. Start to hit it again. Hit it high notes, low notes. Now, the notion of starting to think about, okay, what could that be? There's movement in it. Like there's still some swells and whatnot. And one way to start to look at music, this is why a piano keyboard is nice. If you don't know anything about music theory, super fast crash course, music theory and music usually have key signatures, which tells us what notes are going to sound good together, quote unquote good together. One of the easiest key signature is what we call C major. And C major just means on a piano, I'm just playing all white keys, so no black keys. So that means if I start to mess around and just play the white keys, I can come up with some stuff, and it probably won't sound awful together. One thing to look up that you can look up online is, so C major, right? What are different chords? So in music we have chords, right? I play multiple notes together at the same time. It makes chords. In the world of music, and especially media music, two foundational chords that we use all the time. One is called major, and one is called minor. Very simplistic stereotype answer of it, like if you're explaining it to a kid, is we often say that major chords sound pretty, they sound happy, they sound pleasant. This is why oftentimes, most of the time, like children's songs, nursery rhyme songs, a lot of Disney songs, it's stuff that's written with mostly major chords. On the flip side, minor is sort of the opposite. Minor sounds sort of darker, sort of sad. So, knowing that, you can go online and Google this, and there's tons of charts you can find that are just, okay, if I'm working with C major, right, which means I just play all the white keys and it'll sound okay. And I start to look up, okay, major minor chords within that. It's gonna start to show me what chords, what notes can I play together that's going to sound different ways. Okay. Sorry for the weird echo too. So the reason I say all that is you can start to really get creative with music just thinking about these two, because the idea of storytelling is about the philosophy of it. So, for example, if we know major is going to have a brighter, happier sound, minor is going to be sort of the opposite. Let's just look at some of the really fast major popular themes of characters from movies and video games in the past. All right. We have Danny Elfman's Batman theme, right, which is basically this. So, the reason that is an interesting one is if you look at what his melody is doing, his melody is basically going from a minor chord to a major chord, back to a minor chord. And so that fits the psychology of the character. Why? Because Batman is considered a little bit of a darker character, right? So his melody, it goes up, and when it does, it's going to hit a major chord, but then it settles back down, and it settles into back to minor again. In this psychology of we start darker, we try to rise up, right? We get hopeful, we have major, but then we settle back down to something darker, as if we haven't accomplished it yet, but we're trying, right? Now imagine if Batman was in all major chords. Right? That sounds kind of odd. That doesn't sound like Batman. If it was all minor chords, that sort of sounds like a funeral march. But the notion of it goes back and forth. John Williams' Superman. That's all major. It's just nothing but major chords. Because in the 1970s, Superman is bright, he represents good, he's heroic, right? Harry Potter. That's all minor. Because it's high, it's whimsical, but it's still darker, right? Harry Potter is about some darker magic. So this notion of major minor automatically starts to unlock psychology of a character, right? Mario. Right? All that's major. That's when he's happy and he's going and he's hitting coins, right? What do you think happens when he gets to Bowser's castle? All of a sudden we go to minor stuff. So you can instantly go to piano. We're in the key of C major with the white keys, and look up what major and minor chords are there with those white keys, and you can start to create interesting things. So, for example, we have this synth. Oh, whoops. Let me... If I do all minor chords, you can start to imagine, okay, what kind of scene could that fit, right? It sounds 80s, it sounds alien. So it's something darker, something scarier, right? If I do all major chords, it's hopeful in a way, right? All right, so picking random synth stuff and just trying, okay, what kind of atmosphere does that create? Right? I'm not writing music in the sense of this is just a preloaded thing that is already invented and I'm just pushing a key, right? So I just push this one note on this synth. Oh, whoops. Keep soloing it. Here we go. I'm just holding down my finger on this one note. But it has built-in stuff to do, right? Listen to the high part of it. So there's moving stuff in it. So what kind of scenes could that fit, right? It has a darkness to it, but there's this whole level of high that's moving. So maybe this is more spacious. Maybe we're outside. This could work if I'm out in a forest at night and there's, you know, danger lurking in the sky, right? This one, that's very low, right? Very deep sound. So, and it has more of a pulsating rhythm, right? So how could I use that? What are scenarios? What are environments that could happen? Maybe I'm in a cave. Maybe I'm running through something dark. It's black. I can't see what's in front of me, but there's excitement to it. The philosophy of the music. Oftentimes, composers just automatically think, I just need to buy the most expensive music programs with the most amazing sounding instruments and special effects, and that's how I'll write intelligent stuff. It's not true. You can write stuff with cheap old sounds, right? It may not sound as amazing sound quality wise, but what you're trying to do, the notion of how to practice writing it, you don't need the expensive stuff to learn how to practice writing it. So let's do an experiment, and I did an experiment yesterday. I'm going to show you what I did. I hate that this thing is like cackling and gargling and stuff. I'm actually going to do this because maybe this will help that a little bit. I'm going to reload this. Okay, so what I did is I went to the piano and I was like, okay, I'm just going to invent a scenario, a game, or a thing, whatever, to just make a melody, right? So, how do I do that? So I went to the piano. Remember, it's going to be all white keys. And I just invented this character scenario in my head of, okay, what if the character is sort of an open space. It's an adventure game, right? And they have to go on a quest and they have to go seek things. Well, I find that as it's dark and light, right? So maybe they're going on a quest to save someone they love or to discover something about themselves or something. So I came up with this little melody. So you can see the keyboard I have. I did this little thing. Something of, okay, I'm going to start somewhere and the character is curious or thinking about something or looking ahead towards something. So it's going to jump up. And then in music, we oftentimes want to do something that are patterns and kind of repeat it. So I do that again, but this time the two notes, the two white keys I have, I do the same thing. I just go up one time. So if the first one is, I'm going to start at the same note again. And then I do it one more time. So it keeps sort of, we have a foundation we're starting. I'm thinking about something. I'm seeing something ahead, this quest or whatever that I have to go on. And it goes back and then go back down. So then if I do that and you come up with any kind of melody that you like, then the next thing is, okay, what kind of harmonies and chords could go with that, right? And if it's the whole major and minor are two pillars of it, well, if I do all major, it sounds all happy. If I do all minor, I don't know if I want it all sad. So maybe I want a mixture of both. I'm a personal fan of mixing them because I think as humans, it gives an emotional complexity to it. Because as humans, we're light and dark as well. So I really love when themes combine both. A lot of my favorite musical themes, it blends major and minor together. So what if I start major? My second chord is major again. But then I end on minor. And so all I did is, even if I have no idea how to do this, well, I just, go online, look at the charts, what are the major and minor chords in C major, what are the notes, and you just fool with them. And what's fun about piano is, whatever the three notes are, so the first chord I'm doing, it's an F major chord, it's these three notes, but then I can play those three notes in any order. So instead of playing them F, A, C, I'm playing them as C, F, A. So then, okay, so I have my harmony and my melody. The next thing I want to do is figure out, okay, what do I want that left hand, these chords to do? Do I want it to be like that, where it's just chord, 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 or do I want some movement to it? I like the movement with it. But notice that there's still distance in it. I'm not doing this. Like I'm not filling every second with something, right? In video game music especially, one thing that music has to be is it often has to be loopable. So you have to make sure that within it, there's still some space in it, right? So notice at the very end of my melody, and then there's some silence before I can repeat it again. It helps it when you have to loop it. Now, the next level of when you're trying to do the music is, okay, I figured out a melody, I figured out chords. One thing that we do a lot in music is you establish an idea and then repeat it again with most of the same building blocks, but something changes, just so it's not an exact copy and paste of something. So I'm going to change the melody, but it needs to still feel connected to that first one. So I'm going to do the same philosophy that I did. I'm going to start on a note, leap up, play 2 notes. I'm going to go back to that same note, leap up again, go back to that same note, leap up again, and each leap gets a little higher. So if the first time my first melody was, now I do that same pattern, I just start on a different note. Like the same arc of everything, just different, but I keep the same chords. So now it's a different melody, but it's the same shape as the first one and the same chords. So now back to back, that would be. So once I got that, I recorded that. So here's me doing the piano. So this is the piano melody, this is the piano harmony. So the right hand, the left hand. Okay, so then once you have that basic concept, now we start to flesh it out. And one thing that music for video games often does as well is what we call additive. It's layered. So you're going to see, so notice my screen here, see all the layers that I'm going to start to show you that I added, which means any combination of the layers can make a new kind of thing, right? So for example, that's me just doing the piano, the melody, and the harmony. So then the next step was, okay, how do I build on that some more? So let's say now the character is starting to walk, right? And he's going outside, and it's starting to, there's some momentum to it, momentum. So I'm going to now, just for funsies, I'm going to add strings doing pizzicato, the plucks. And it's going to follow the same chords that we already set up, right? Because I already have my melody and my basic 3 chords. So, but notice how just adding that now gives it a little bit of more anticipation. So all I did was figure out what were the chords. I had the cello playing one of the notes in those chords, and I also gave it a tiny bit of a counter melody. So I had it going, so this is that chord, but then I have it going. Oftentimes it's nice to have little counter melodies that sort of call and response echo with the melody. So then, what if I also add a flute to it? So I have the flute doing melody. Sorry, this is going to happen a lot. I'm on my laptop. So all I did was just add a different instrument. And again, every single instrument I'm showing you was just whatever Logic had. I haven't imported any crazy stuff with it. So then, just from that, I also added bass so that this string thing that I had, well, I'm just going to add bass so the string's doing that exact same thing, just lower. So then right here, just in these, what is it, five things, I can start to fiddle around with the layers. Because you don't want it to be the same thing over and over and over and over. But you do want it to be loopable and all feel connected. So what if at times I took the melody out? What if I only have the high pizzicato and I have just the flute playing the melody? Feels very empty. Right? What are all the different scenarios that these little things could work, right? Is there a scenario where just hearing the flute works? Right? Or just hearing the cello? Right. All these different things. So depending on what's happening visually on screen, do we need something to feel super empty, super spacious? Do we want it to feel anticipatory, right? Do we want it to have energy? Do we want the melody? Do we not? Do we want, a flute to play it off in the distance? All these things we start to add. So then you can really have fun with it and expand. And keep in mind, all of this started with a little 9-second melody and just 3 chords that we picked, 2 major chords and minor chords. So then I flesh it out even more, and so I started to have fun with it, and how much bigger can we get it, right? So then I have more strings, so I have strings doing those da, 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 those chord plucks. I have some strings just holding the chord. I have the strings doing melody. So those things could sound a lot bigger. So those things could sound... Right. So again, these are just the sounds that come prepackaged, but you don't have to have amazing, expensive sounds to practice this creativity. And then I thought, well, what if it really gets big? What if I start to add some drums? What if I wanted a rock version of this? What if I have guitars doing the chugs and the chords and bass guitar, and I throw in some drums? Right. Is there a time when that's needed? Then I threw it in on some brass. Is there a time that I want it to be this regal, royal, kingdom thing? Yeah. I know, sorry, I hate that it's doing that. So it's just about flushing it out, but it's all the same ingredients. I just started to practice, well, what if I put this part of it in this instrument, and what if I only have these playing or these playing? And it allows you to take something very small and make it big, right? So then if I have all of that playing together, then it's massive. All right, you're gonna have endless fun with it. And that all comes from, that took me maybe like 25 minutes yesterday to just put stuff in different instruments, right? That's before it's, edited and mixed and you put great sounds on it and you try to really, really polish it. But the creativity of it is the same. And all of that, all of this, all of that stemmed from this little 9-second thing. And how did I come up with that melody? It was trying to be the psychology of the storytelling, right? So I didn't go to the piano and go, oh, I really want this particular note and I want it to go up this interval and this kind of thing. It wasn't a music theory math decisions. It was the psychology of, okay, I want a character that needs to go somewhere. It's going to turn into an epic quest. It's positive and negative. It's a scary quest, but there's hope at the end of it, right? So I wanted the music to do that, and I came up with that melody just of the psychology of it, right? I need a note to ground it, to come back home to. The rising helps show I'm moving forward, I'm moving towards something. Each time it rises shows me I have a journey to go on, but I keep going back, and the chords help show me that there's darkness and brightness in it. So it's all the psychology. So if you can get a DAW and you can get a piano keyboard, even if you've never touched a piano in your life, use the white keys. And it's the same thing for black keys. The reason I say don't use all black keys is it just gets a lot more melodic, because you'll notice that there's chunks with the black keys. There's less of them and there's more space in between some of them, so it makes it more melodic. So it just means it's going to have much more of a melody to it. But the white keys, it just gives you a bit more notes to work with, but it allows you to still practice stuff. So I hope all of this makes sense. I apologize for some of the sound issues. I'm streaming this through my laptop. But just the notion of don't be scared and don't think, I've never taken music classes before, I've never touched an instrument, there's no way that I can be creative with music. I would much rather see someone sit down and try this. And if you had like I said, there are tons of stuff that you can Google that show you, okay, show me what each note on the piano key is, and then write down what notes play what chords, what major and minor chords. Those are the two basic ones to start with. And then from there, come up with something that has a psychology to it, right? So that's why some of those greatest themes work, because there's a psychology to it, right? Batman's theme works because it's just basically doing minor chord, major chord. Oh, there is hope, but it's still dark, right? Gotham City is dark. And then from there, there's a whole thing with it. Right? So you can practice creativity and you can learn to get creative with music, because at the end of the day, music is storytelling. And this is how we do it through music. We get an idea, we feel like it matches the environment, the psychology, the story of it, and then from there you just flush it out and you make layers and you try things and you do this. But it's daunting to just look at a blank computer screen and go, okay, I have to write a whole musical score. Whether it's for a film or TV or video game, start with one little idea, right? This little 9-second thing that I came up with in 10 minutes yesterday. Not that it's brilliant, but just very, very small. Come up with one little simple idea. And then from there, that'll help show you, okay, well then what should my next idea be? If I have a melody, what chords could go with that? Okay, what instruments do I think matches this environment and sound? The mood, the scene that it's in. And from there, it just, each domino starts to let itself fall. And before you know it, you have a fully fleshed out thing, right? So I just let each domino take me the step of the way. So I start from this, and then leads me to, right? Okay, I'm gonna stop talking now because I feel like I just ramble on. I'm going to stop sharing. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But I hope the thing that you can take away from is feeling encouraged and inspired to just try it. Right? I don't like when I hear people say, I've never taken music lessons, I've never taken a music theory class, I've never touched an instrument, so there's no chance of me trying it. Try it. Just try it. Approach it from psychology and the emotion of it, and your emotions will be right, especially if you're the designer, right? So students, if you're the one designing your games and designing your animation, well, you more than anyone knows what emotion and mentality that you see in the story and the character. So you want to be able to think about this, because even if you do hire a composer, if I'm brought in as a composer, well, I want to have conversations with the people creating it, right? The directors, the animators, the producers, because I want you to be able to talk to me and tell me what are you imagining, and for me to do the same. So getting to going to a computer and a piano and trying this helps you get in that mindset. It helps you try it yourself, and it helps you have a better relationship and understanding of composers and be able to talk to them. Okay, I'm going to shut up now.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Oh yeah, the echo. Here comes the echo. And honestly, like there's so many different music programs that are out there. Some of them simple and some of them complex, and just get something that's simple and start making. I was using a program that I found on Steam. It was like $10, and I would just mess with it. And it's like each time I made something, it got better and better and better. Of course, it's, at my skill level, which is a baby, but each one got better and better. Okay, so we're going to hit the first question here from Jennifer Winner. Logic Pro GarageBand are Mac exclusive. Are there any PC Windows alternative for Stage 2 creation? You're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, there are tons and tons of DAWs. Pro Tools is a big one that can be used on both. I know a lot of people that use Pro Tools, Cubase, FL Studios. It seems like every year I think I've heard of all the DAWs, and then a new one pops up that I've never heard of before. There's a massive amount for Mac and for PC and Windows. And if you ask, and I'm always asking the people I work with and friends, what are your favorite programs? What are your favorite virtual instrument programs? Everyone has a bunch of different answers. I'm a Logic guy, but I know lots of people that are all about other programs. But there's always something coming out. And there always seems to be stuff coming out, in my opinion, when I seem to look it up online, of high-end stuff and cheap stuff, or even free stuff, or the average price. So don't think, even though I was doing Mac stuff, that all of this is very exclusively Mac. There are lots of stuff you can use out there for PC and Windows, and there's always new stuff coming out, and there's always great YouTube videos. If you find a program, a DAW, I guarantee you there's someone that made a YouTube video of crash course 10 minutes. How do you work your way in it?
Okay. Got muted. All right. So let's get to another question here. This is from Swatakeda. Would you happen to be doing any portfolio reviews later, or would you be open to a meeting?
Nope, I don't want to talk to you ever. Don't look me in the eyes. Yes, of course. I don't have any official portfolio things I'm doing for the conference, but I'm happy to always chat with people, set up meetings with people, video chat with people. The best way to contact me is through my website. I think I put it up on the thing earlier, but matthodge.com. That's how you can see my work and you can contact me. I'm always happy to meet with people. I love working with, like I said, students. I'm a full-time college professor. I love working with students and people trying to break into this. And I'm also a judge every year for a couple of media compositions and animation scoring and things like that for some international contests. So I love working with people and helping that. So if you ever want to reach out to me and set up a chat or send stuff for me to look at, I'm happy to. You can find my contact info on my website, matthodge.com.
Next question. It's the echo. Question for Matt. Can you hook up a microphone and a keyboard with Logic Pro?
Yes. Yes, you can. Yeah. You can hook up anything with anything. It just, takes different equipment. Obviously, a lot of stuff is USB, which is nice. You can even get panels that help you plug in multiple USBs, because sometimes I'll have a microphone and a keyboard and my video light and a hard drive that has instruments and a bunch of stuff. So you can hook up a lot of stuff. So I have a microphone right here. That's a USB that I use sometimes. It's currently not working great, which is why I didn't use it today. But yes, you can hook up lots of stuff. And that's one of the things I like about Logic. People will argue which is the best programs. In my opinion, in my experience, because I do a lot of stuff that's more digital than audio, or things that are USB based or things like that, I just find Logic works really well. If you're someone that is big in audio, like everything you want to record is audio, then I've heard that Pro Tools, I know people that enjoy using Pro Tools for that. For me, because I do a lot of digital stuff and it's with a lot of MIDI instruments, even with the microphone, that's audio, but most other stuff is going to be MIDI. That's why I like Logic. My personal opinion is it's a little bit more user friendly to do all of those things with.
All right, next question. If you pay for a program on a monthly use basis, do you have to keep it active to continue using the music in your game?
Good question. The super annoying answer is, I don't know. I've noticed programs, every program is different. Every program, even programs that I've used in the past, the payment policy has changed or different. Now a lot of people are switching to monthly versions versus just you buy it all at once. From what I've seen and what I would guess is if I paid for a monthly program and I made music in it and I eventually didn't want the program anymore, well, the music that I made I can keep, but I may lose stuff that if I don't continue to pay for it. But it is something to look at because a lot of programs now have changed how they pay and what their pay scales are. Some programs are just one-time payments, some are monthly fees. But if you're anything that you created, just like for example, I have music on my computer that I've written and created for projects that I use programs that I don't use anymore, or that I paid for that I don't pay anymore. That doesn't mean I can't use the programs anymore because inherently with the program is you're getting the license to be able to use it legally. So it shouldn't require that you have to keep paying. Once you stop paying for the program, everything you've ever made in that program, now you can never use again. I wouldn't think that would be reality. But every website and every software is going to be different. So make sure when you look at programs, you read the fine print. Usually most companies are going to have an FAQ thing and it's going to talk about sort of all of that stuff because every one is very different with payment and what you can legally use it for, what you can't. A lot of times they'll have different levels too. If you're using it as an individual, as a corporation, how do you want to use it legally and commercially, then there may be different levels of paying options.
Okay, this is from Sketchy Toxin. And this I've wondered too, and I've looked into like MIDI guitars. Are there any guitars that could be used similarly to the piano? If so, which ones do you recommend? Because I don't play keys. I am a guitarist. And I that's one thing I wish I would have learned is the keys because you can play 10 notes at once.
Yeah, no, true. One of my biggest regrets is not being a guitar player. I owned a guitar for a while. I so wished that I could play. I'm so jealous of my friends that just rock up a guitar. So I'll be honest, I don't have much experience with MIDI guitars. I will say it's been my experience, the certain types of instruments that it's a lot harder to sound fantastic digitally, to have it, it's like a computer fake sound of it. I've noticed that with guitars, it's really hard for me to make, guitars just sound super amazing and realistic without at some point having audio. I've done several projects where it's mostly digital, but the guitar part, I brought in a guitar player to do it for real. So yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with like electric guitars that would be MIDI. I don't actually know anyone that uses that, so I do wonder if it exists. I'm going to look on my phone here and see what that looks like. It looks like there may be some things out there. The reason that I recommend piano is because piano, even if you don't play piano, like I said, like when I showed it on my screen, piano is very visual. And when you're trying to do things, when you're trying to learn how chords are built, how the melodies work. And like I said, the psychology of melody is very visual a lot of times. Like how a melody goes up and down, and are the notes together? Is there space? There's a psychology in that I think, and I've noticed with working with other musicians and students, that there's just something about a piano, seeing it laid out vertically, reading left to right, that you can see that even if you're not a piano player, versus a guitar, you're not looking at it. I hope that answers your question. But that is a fantastic idea, right? Like, let's get MIDI guitars. They may be out there. I've never worked with one, and most of my guitar players that I use in recording world, I just have them. We record real guitar audio because it's one of those instruments that it is a lot harder to make it sound very realistic and great.
Well, I know that there are MIDI controllers. You can buy MIDI controllers and put them on your guitar somehow. I was reading about that. Okay, let's see here. How do you feel about using acapella for video game music?
How do I feel about using acapella? I assume, do you mean like acapella music in video game? Is that what you're asking? If you're referring to acapella music, I think that's cool. Any kind of music creativity, I'm all for. I've seen different people do different things creatively or using different sounds that you wouldn't think work in a traditional score. So I'm all for. I actually do a lot of work in acapella music, so I'm all for doing really interesting stuff in scores and experimenting with different things. I've seen people do really interesting scores with, like, they make a drum kit out of pencil tapping and finger scratches and stuff. Anytime you can be innovative with things, I think is really, really cool. Unless you're referring to a program called Acapella, in which case I'm not exactly sure what you might be referring to that. But if you mean like just acapella scoring, I think that's awesome. I would love to see like a video game that's just all acapella music.
Halo.
Yeah. It's just Halo. Like all Glee choirs.
Mm-hmm. So here's a question. Jennifer, many classical pieces. Echo.
Oh, sorry.
Many classical pieces are long out of copyright. Is there any preference for using these as inspiration or variation upon?
That's a good question, and that comes up a lot in media, right? I mean, how many times do you see a commercial and there's a piece of classical music in it, right? Oftentimes a business decision because it's a lot cheaper, right? It's not legally copyrighted. But I'm also a fan of getting inspiration from that. A lot of times that's just going to come down to conversations you have with directors and designers and producers and stuff. If they want pre-existing stuff, if they want a recognizable piece of classical music, or they want something inspired by. I get that a lot. And that's how a lot of times directors and filmmakers and animators and stuff talk to you. They'll send, real talk. They'll send you links to stuff and say, here's something that's real that I like, and this is what I like about it, this particular thing musically. Can you do something like that, right? Or can you do something that is inspired by that? So meaning not copying it or mimicking it, but figuring out what it is. So if it's a classical piece or someone wants something to sound quote unquote classical, I've done a couple of gigs where they wanted this to sound like a classical thing, right? They want this to sound like a Mozart piece or Beethoven. In terms of, do you actually use the piece or not? Oftentimes that's not just necessarily a conversation of can you just legally do it or not, but it's what they want. Do they want something recognizable? Do they want something original that you write, but it's insinuating or inspired by that? I've had multiple gigs actually like that, where it's, we want this to be on a harpsichord and it sounds like Bach in 1600, or it's on an organ, or it sounds like a Mozart piece, right? So like a real Mozart piece would be. That's an actual Mozart piece. If it's write something that sounds like it and it's inspired by it, but it's not that exact piece. Right, sounds like it, it's not the exact same thing. But classical music is often used as an inspiration, which I love because I teach music history classes, so I love when young people understand classical references and have an appreciation for it and get inspired by it. Some of the greatest contemporary scores in video games and film and television, you see influences of classical music.
Did you just break out? There's an echo. Did you just break out with that Mozart-ish piece? Just off the top of your head?
Yeah, I get it's not that hard if you know music theory. Right. That's why it's just about try something. Just throw something out.
Could you
could have bombed, but
three different pieces just really quick, a couple seconds long or a few seconds long that are inspired by that, but make them all different but the same, but inspired by that?
Like a Mozart-y thing?
Yeah.
Sure. So let's say it's all major chords. All minor chords. Darker stuff, lower stuff. But that happens a lot, where you get sent something and get inspired by this. Now, where it gets really interesting, and I've had multiple gigs like this, where you get sent 10 YouTube links to 10 different bands or videos, and it's, I love the drums of this, but the vocals of this, but the acoustics of this, but the bluesy part of, and you try to figure out how in the world do you mesh all that together. But that's where it's fun. But that's also where you can't be scared to just try stuff and just go to the piano and just make up something, right? And it could be awful. Like that little experiment could have bombed. I could have been, right? But try it. Who cares?
Actually like that little last piece you were jazz out with right there. Bam, 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 bam. Yep, exactly. All right. Well, we're out of time right here, but this is super interesting. And if you would love to come into the Discord, Matt, discord.gg/indiegamebusiness, and you can go into the channel that is called, someone just told me last time, it is called Post Session Chat. And that way you can hang out in there. Maybe if you want to go into a voice call and answer some questions, that would be awesome.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely head over there. I'll be able to spend a few minutes over there. Yeah, come chat with me.
Yeah, that would be great. And this was super interesting. I had a lot of fun. So we've got somebody coming up next. Are you ready for it? I hope so. Thank you so much, Matt.